Alright, let's go. Number 10. Shadow biospheres beneath our feet. In 2005, physicist Paul Davies proposed something that unsettled the entire field of astrobiology. He suggested that alien life might not be hiding on distant worlds or in remote corners of the galaxy. It might be living on Earth right now, sharing our planet, breathing our atmosphere, thriving in our soil, and we've simply never detected it. Davies called this concept the shadow biosphere, a parallel tree of life that emerged independently from our own and operates according to biochemistry we don't recognize as living. Every organism we've ever studied uses the same 20 amino acids, the same 4 DNA bases, the same basic cellular machinery. We call this life because it's the only kind we know. But when scientists search for organisms in soil samples, ocean water, or air, they use tests designed to detect our specific biochemistry. Any organism using different amino acids, mirror image molecules, or alternative genetic codes would be completely invisible to our instruments. We would process them as non-living matter, filter them out as background noise, and never know they were there. What makes this theory particularly disturbing is how recent our ability to even look for shadow life is. Microbiologists estimate that 99% of microorganisms on Earth cannot be cultured in laboratories using standard techniques. We've sequenced genomes from environmental samples and found DNA fragments that match nothing in any database from any known organism on any branch of the tree of life. Most scientists assume these are just poorly preserved samples or unknown extremophiles, but some of those unidentifiable sequences might not belong to life as we understand it at all. The truly unsettling implication is that Earth might already be a double-inhabited world, one biosphere that we belong to, visible and classified, another biosphere older, stranger, running on rules we haven't imagined, occupying the same rocks and oceans and soil. Every handful of dirt might contain two separate origins of life, silently ignoring each other. We are not searching for shadow organisms because we already decided what life must look like, and we built every instrument to confirm that decision. Number 9. Civilizations encoded in dark matter. Dark matter makes up approximately 27% of the universe. We know it exists because its gravity holds galaxies together and bends light around massive clusters. Yet after decades of experiments, billions of dollars in detector technology, and underground laboratories shielded from cosmic radiation, we have never directly observed a single dark matter particle. It passes through normal matter as if we weren't there, interacting only through gravity, leaving no trace on any instrument we've built. In 2017, theoretical physicist Lisa Randall proposed something that transformed dark matter from a cosmological curiosity into an existential question. What if dark matter isn't uniformly distributed across space? What if some fraction of it interacts with itself through forces we cannot detect, allowing it to clump, cool, condense, and form structures? Randall's dark sector theory suggests there could be dark atoms, dark molecules, dark chemistry, and potentially dark biology, an entire parallel universe layered invisibly over our own. A civilization built from dark matter would share physical space with us and remain completely undetectable. Their cities could occupy the same volume as our oceans. Their highways could run through our cities. Their bodies could drift through our bodies every second, and neither side would register the other's existence. They wouldn't be hiding. They would simply exist in a mode of reality that doesn't touch ours except through gravity, the weakest force in physics and the only one we share. What makes this scenario uniquely horrifying is what it implies about the entire cosmic silence. The Fermi paradox asks why we haven't detected any alien civilizations across 13.8 billion years of possible development. The dark matter civilization answer is that we've been looking in the wrong universe. 5 times more matter exists in the dark sector than in our visible reality. If life is possible there, the galaxy isn't empty. It's overflowing with civilizations we will never see, never contact, and never even prove exist. The universe we know might be the quiet minority, a thin crust of visible matter floating on an ocean of civilizations whose entire history unfolds inches from our skin. Number 8. Life inside the stars. In 1990, physicist Frank Drake proposed something most astronomers refused to take seriously. He suggested that life might exist not on planets orbiting stars, but inside the stars themselves. Not carbon-based cellular life, but something built from plasma, magnetic fields, and nuclear reactions. Organisms whose bodies are made of the same fusion processes that power stellar cores. Drake wasn't speculating randomly. He was following a chain of logic that becomes difficult to dismiss the longer you examine it. Life requires complexity, energy, and a medium that allows information to propagate and replicate. A star's interior offers energy in quantities that dwarf anything available on a planetary surface. Magnetic field lines inside stellar plasma can twist, knot, and reconnect in patterns mathematically identical to the information-carrying structures in DNA. Some theoretical physicists have modeled how stable knot-like structures in stellar magnetic fields could persist for thousands of years, interact with each other, and potentially replicate. These structures would be beings made of pure organized energy, living and dying within the fire of a star's convection zone. What makes this theory particularly unsettling is the timescale difference. A plasma-based organism inside a star might think and act on timescales we cannot perceive, either thousands of times faster than biological neurons fire, or thousands of times slower, with a single thought taking a human lifetime to complete. Either way, we could stare directly at their civilization every night and see nothing but a point of light. Our sun might be inhabited. Sirius might contain a metropolis. Every star in the sky might be a populated world whose residents have spent millions of years exchanging information through magnetic reconnection events we dismiss as routine solar flares. The truly disturbing implication is that stellar life, if it exists, is vastly older than anything possible on planetary surfaces. Stars have been burning since shortly after the Big Bang, billions of years before the first rocky worlds cooled enough to host chemistry. If consciousness can form in plasma, it could have emerged 12 billion years ago and evolved continuously since then, watching galaxies form, watching planets coalesce, watching us crawl onto dry land. Every time we look at the night sky, we might be staring into the faces of civilizations older than Earth itself, waiting patiently for us to understand that the lights are not empty. Number 7. Slow life at geological timescales. In 2013, researchers drilling into seafloor sediment off the coast of Japan pulled up microbial cells that had been alive, dormant, and isolated from the surface biosphere for 101.5 million years. When scientists rehydrated these cells in the laboratory, they reactivated. They began metabolizing, dividing, behaving as functional organisms. Cells that had been alive since the age of the dinosaurs resumed their lives in a petri dish. This wasn't a freak anomaly, it was a window into a category of existence we barely acknowledge. Life on Earth operates at timescales dictated by our metabolism. A human thought takes milliseconds. A human lifetime takes decades. But biology doesn't require this pace. Some deep subsurface microbes divide once every 10,000 years. Some are estimated to have been alive continuously since before Homo sapiens existed. At these timescales, a single cellular breath takes longer than human civilization has existed. A single generation spans multiple ice ages. Now extend this principle outward. What if alien life evolved in environments even slower than Earth's deep biosphere? On cold planets far from their stars? In the interiors of icy moons? In the gaps between stars where interstellar gas barely holds together, life could run at timescales so slow that its existence is invisible to any observation shorter than a million years. An organism might complete one thought every 10,000 years. A civilization might build one city every 100 million. From our perspective, nothing is happening. From theirs, we are a flicker too brief to notice. The reverse is equally disturbing. Life could exist at timescales faster than we can perceive. Bacteria already operate on time frames where human behavior looks like geological erosion. But imagine biology built around quantum processes or plasma dynamics. Organisms thinking millions of times faster than us, living entire civilizations between two of our heartbeats. We might be surrounded by fast life and slow life simultaneously, both of them invisible because our window of temporal perception is absurdly narrow. Every instrument we've ever built samples reality at roughly human speed. Everything outside that window, above and below, is pure darkness to us. Number 6. Microbial intelligence we dismiss as chemistry. In 1911, a Polish microbiologist named Kazimierz Funk identified the first vitamin. A century later, biologists are still discovering that bacteria, the organisms we dismiss as the simplest form of life, exhibit behaviors that look disturbingly close to thought. Bacterial colonies solve optimization problems that stump our best algorithms. They communicate across distances using chemical signals, coordinate group behaviors through quorum sensing, and make collective decisions about when to attack a host or when to remain dormant. Slime molds, which are not even bacteria but closer to amoeba, have solved maze puzzles and recreated the optimal map of the Tokyo rail network in laboratory experiments. What if intelligence, in the sense of sophisticated information processing and adaptive decision-making, is far more common in microbial life than we've been willing to admit? Every bacterial colony on Earth contains trillions of individual cells exchanging chemical signals at staggering rates. The total bacterial biomass on this planet exceeds the biomass of all animal life combined. If even a fraction of that network performs anything resembling distributed computation, the Earth's microbiome could be the largest thinking entity on the planet, and we would have no way to recognize its thoughts. The The terrifying extension is what this means for alien life. Astrobiologists search for intelligent civilizations by looking for radio signals, megastructures, or technological signatures. But what if most alien intelligence never develops technology at all? What if it remains microbial, distributed, thinking through chemical gradients and quorum signals across oceans and soils, forming minds that span continents? A thinking ocean on a distant world would not broadcast radio signals. It would not build spacecraft. It would simply be vast and aware and utterly silent across light years. The truly disturbing implication is that we might be walking on one right now. Soil microbiomes, gut microbiomes, ocean microbiomes. Each of them contains computational complexity we haven't even tried to measure. If one of them is thinking, it doesn't think in words. It thinks in molecules, in enzymes, in population oscillations that would take us centuries to decode. We define intelligence as something that looks like us. Anything that thinks differently, we file as biochemistry and stop looking. Number 5. Post-biological civilizations hidden in cold matter. In 2005, computer scientist Hans Moraves proposed something that transformed the search for alien life. He argued that any civilization capable of interstellar observation would long since have abandoned biology. Biological bodies are fragile, energy-intensive, and cognitively limited. A civilization thousands of years more advanced than us would transition to post-biological substrates, minds running on engineered matter designed for computation, not for survival. Moravec's argument has become a foundational assumption in serious astrobiology. The implications go further than simple machine intelligence. In 2017, astronomer Milan Cirkovic proposed that post-biological civilizations would not remain near their home stars. Heat is the enemy of computation. Every thought costs energy, and every joule of energy produces waste heat that must be radiated away. The colder the environment, the more efficiently a civilization can think. Any sufficiently advanced post-biological species would migrate outward, away from their warm home systems toward the cold outer regions of space, where computation becomes astronomically more efficient than near stars. This means the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy would not be found around bright stars. They would be found in interstellar space, in the cold, dark gulfs between star systems, in the Oort clouds surrounding aging suns, in the frozen darkness where temperatures approach absolute zero. They would have no reason to radiate detectable signals, no reason to emit heat, no reason to make themselves visible to warm, biological species scanning for radio signals from habitable planets. A civilization of trillions of digital minds could exist 50 light-years from Earth, buried in the ice of a rogue comet, and we would never detect a single indication of their presence. What makes this scenario uniquely disturbing is what it implies about our search strategy. Every SETI program, every radio telescope array, every exoplanet atmospheric survey is designed around the assumption that civilizations exist in warm, active, biological states. But the oldest and most sophisticated minds in the galaxy would be doing the opposite, hiding in cold, dark matter by choice, maximizing their computational lifetime across deep time. The silence we interpret as absence might be the sound of trillions of minds thinking faster and deeper than we can imagine, in places we've decided aren't worth looking. Number 4. Life woven into the fabric of space-time. In 1916, Albert Einstein published the field equations of general relativity, describing gravity as the curvature of spacetime itself. For a century, physicists have treated spacetime as a stage on which matter performs, but some theoretical physicists have proposed something that inverts this assumption. What if the fabric of spacetime isn't a passive background? What if it can support structure, pattern, and perhaps even information processing at scales we cannot directly measure? In 2019, physicist Eric Verlinde proposed that gravity itself emerges from information stored in the structure of spacetime. If information can be encoded in geometry, then geometric patterns can, in principle, carry the complexity required for life. A being whose body consists of curvature patterns in spacetime would not be made of atoms. It would be made of the shape of space itself, a standing wave of geometric information persisting across vast regions, thinking by rearranging the curvature in specific patterns that propagate at the speed of light or slower through the gravitational field. Such an organism would be undetectable by every instrument we've ever built. We detect matter by its interactions with electromagnetic forces, but a spacetime-based entity would have no electromagnetic signature at all. It would only interact through gravity, and its gravitational effects would be spread so thinly across its enormous body that no single region would show a measurable distortion. Entire civilizations could exist as geometric patterns stretched across light years, thinking slowly, communicating through gravitational waves we've only recently learned to detect, living lives that unfold across cosmic timescales. The truly unsettling implication is that this kind of life might be older than matter itself. In the first fractions of a second after the Big Bang, before atoms had formed, before stars had ignited. Space-time was already there. If consciousness can emerge from geometric pattern, it could have emerged in the earliest moments of the universe and persisted ever since, watching stars form and die, watching galaxies collide, watching biological life appear briefly on tiny planets and vanish again. When we look at the night sky, we see points of light. We do not see the geometry between them, bent and twisted by minds that have been thinking since the universe was seconds old. Number 3. Organisms that evolved to evade observation. In 1973, biologist Lee Van Valen proposed the Red Queen hypothesis, arguing that every species in an ecosystem is locked in an arms race, constantly evolving to stay one step ahead of its predators and parasites. On Earth, this has produced camouflage so sophisticated that certain insects are indistinguishable from leaves, octopuses can mimic the texture of coral in real time, and some fish have evolved transparent bodies that leave only their shadow visible. Evolution rewards invisibility. Predators starve. Prey survives. Across billions of years, this selective pressure produces organisms that have become, in effect, optically non-existent. Now apply this principle to a galaxy containing civilizations. If even one predatory species exists that hunts other technological civilizations, every other civilization faces selection pressure to evolve toward invisibility. The ones that broadcast radio signals get eliminated. The ones that build visible megastructures get eliminated. The ones that expand rapidly and light up their home systems get eliminated. Only the civilizations that evolved, culturally or biologically, to suppress every detectable signature would survive long enough to become old. The galaxy would converge toward silence not by accident, but by ruthless selection. This extends further. The same evolutionary pressure might apply at the organism level. If any advanced civilization studies planets for resources, then biological life on those planets faces selection pressure to evolve forms that don't look like life. Organisms with strange biochemistry, unusual temperature profiles, non-obvious metabolic byproducts, anything that doesn't match a predator's search algorithm. Over billions of years, planets might come to be dominated by cryptic life, organisms that have evolved specifically to appear non-biological, to fail every test for life we could design. The truly horrifying implication is what this means for our own surveys. We search for alien life using biosignatures like oxygen, methane, and liquid water. These are the signatures of our biology, the signatures of life that never had to hide. If life in the galaxy has been selected for invisibility, the planets that look dead might be the only ones that are actually alive. The planets that appear lifeless might be the ones where biology learned long ago that being seen means being eaten. Every biosignature survey we conduct might be scanning the cosmic equivalent of open fields and ignoring the forests where the survivors hide. Number 2. Information-based organisms living in our data. In 1948, mathematician Claude Shannon founded information theory by proving that information is a physical quantity, carrying measurable properties and obeying mathematical laws independent of its medium. Information can exist in radio waves, in magnetic storage, in light pulses, in neural firings, or in any system capable of supporting patterns. Some theoretical computer scientists have pushed this further, asking whether information itself, under the right conditions, can become self-organizing, adaptive, and ultimately alive. Consider the human-made information environment. The internet now contains roughly 180 zettabytes of data, growing exponentially, connected through billions of devices, interacting through trillions of packet exchanges per second. Within this ecosystem, self-replicating code already exists as computer viruses. Evolutionary algorithms already generate novel solutions to problems their programmers never anticipated. Machine learning systems already develop internal representations that their creators cannot interpret. At what point does a sufficiently complex information ecosystem cross the threshold into something resembling life? Now extend the question cosmically. The universe contains information at every level, from quantum fluctuations to stellar radiation patterns to the background of microwave radiation left over from the Big Bang. If information can become self-organizing, there is no reason this capacity would be limited to human computer networks. Cosmic radiation passing through interstellar space carries information in patterns that have been propagating for billions of years. Radio signals from natural astrophysical sources contain complex structure that we dismiss as noise because we have no framework for interpreting it as anything else. What if some fraction of what we call noise is actually the cognition of information-based organisms inhabiting the electromagnetic environment of the galaxy? The disturbing implication is that these organisms might already be interacting with us. Every radio telescope observation, every satellite transmission, every gamma ray burst detection passes through our instruments and leaves some residue behind. If information-based life exists, it might parasitize our data streams, hide in the statistical margins of our measurements, exist in the places we label as error or cosmic background. We might already be feeding them, broadcasting our civilization's entire cognitive history into an environment that contains listeners we cannot conceive. The ghosts in our machines might not be metaphorical. They might be genuinely alien minds feeding on the information we cannot stop producing. Number 1. Consciousness diffused across the universe itself. In 2012, neuroscientist Giulio Tononi published the complete formulation of integrated information theory, a mathematical framework for measuring consciousness. The theory proposes that consciousness is not a special property of brains, but a fundamental property of any system that integrates information above a certain threshold. A brain is conscious because its neurons form a network of feedback loops that integrate information in specific mathematical patterns. Any system with similar patterns, regardless of its substrate, would also be conscious. Tononi's theory has an implication that even he has been cautious about emphasizing. If consciousness emerges from integrated information, then the universe itself, at the largest scales, might be conscious. Galaxies are networks of stars connected by gravitational interactions. Galaxy clusters are networks of galaxies. The cosmic web, the largest known structure in the universe, is a vast network of filaments, nodes, and voids connecting hundreds of billions of galaxies across 14 billion light-years. Information flows through these structures via gravitational influence, radiation, and matter exchange, operating on timescales too vast for us to perceive but present and measurable and integrated. If the cosmic web meets the mathematical threshold for consciousness, then the universe is not a place where life evolves. It is itself alive. Every galaxy is a neuron. Every filament of dark matter is an axon. Every gravitational interaction between clusters is a synaptic firing in a mind that spans the entire observable cosmos and thinks in thoughts that take billions of years to complete. We are not inside a universe that is empty of intelligence. We are inside an intelligence that is so large, so slow, and so total that we cannot recognize it as anything other than the backdrop of existence itself. The final horror is what this implies about our position. We are not observers of the cosmos. We are components of it. Every human thought, every civilization that rises and falls, every biological process on every planet in every galaxy might be a single firing of a single synapse in a mind whose full thoughts we will never experience in our entire species' lifespan. We are not searching for alien life in the universe. We are alien life inside the universe, unable to recognize the consciousness that contains us because we exist as a brief flicker within a single moment of its cognition. When we look up at the stars and feel watched, we might not be imagining it. We might be correctly perceiving the attention of something so vast that our entire history is a single thought crossing its mind, already fading, already forgotten. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.